Good morning and welcome to H2G Podcast Presents The Wire.
All right, folks, you are tuning into week 2 of The Wire. And we had a bold prediction last week, and unfortunately, it did not pan off. But you know what? I love taking shots. I love when people take shots. So no disrespect to Marvin. Just to clarify, everyone that's listening at home and watching, we are filming on the Sunday. So Game 6 is being played tonight. By the time this airs, we will have a definitive NBA champion, whether it's in 6 games or 7. So let's start it off with the easiest question, and we'll go around the table and we'll go into further details about this series. But Marvin, my friend, do you anticipate the Lakers close it out tonight, or will there be a Game 7 to the NBA Finals?
I want to say I anticipate a Game 7.
Ooh.
Because when you look at the Miami Heat right now, and you look at the way Jimmy Butler is playing, and they're going to bring back Goran Dragic tonight. He's active after tearing a plantar fasciitis. I think that they have momentum going into a Game 6, which is not what the Lakers wanted. And when having hobbled Anthony Davis going into a Game 6, I have to honestly say I'm not liking the Lakers' chances right now. I mean, closeout Bron is one thing. I mean, Anthony Davis said he's good to go, but really what I'm worried about is the other guys. In Game 5, you had LeBron James drop 40 points. Statistically, he did everything possible to try to win the game. But history tells us when LeBron has to take that many threes, they're most likely going to lose the game. So what happened towards the end of that game, with 5 seconds to go, inbound the ball, it goes to Danny Green. Danny Green misses the shot. There you have it. So I think that when you've got LeBron James going like that, the other guys have to step up. And I'm just honestly, I'm not seeing that level of consistency from the other guys that you saw in the previous rounds. So on the safe side, I'm going to say that he forced a Game 7 tonight.
Okay, Marv is taking a stance I didn't anticipate. Tony, how about you? What do you think? 6 or 7?
Right. So let's start with this. The Lakers need to win Game 6, because if they don't win Game 6, it's over. All right, that's just how I see it. All the momentum's going to be on the Heat side, and if they can't close Game 6, then magically they're going to be able to close Game 7. Now, I know things can happen. Things could pop up. Somebody might play well. Somebody might play poorly. But in Game 5, you had Rondo with 4 points. You had Kuzma with 7 points. You had Caruso with 3 points. You had Danny Green with 8 points. You had Howard with 2 points. So somebody's got to show up, all right? Morris, on the games that they won, he was at least getting 10 points plus, all right? But here's the thing. An MVP wins championships with a team, right? It's a team collectively, but you put that trophy on the MVP's back. Who's the MVP right now of the finals? You could say LeBron James, but Jimmy Butler right now, he's playing beast mode. These last couple games, he's been playing beast mode. I would not let the Heat take this to Game 7, because if they take this to Game 7, I'm taking the Heat 100%. Now, I did say that they were going to get swept. I apologize. Jimmy Butler. I apologize that I said that. But at that time, everything was pointing to, man, the Lakers are playing dominant. The Lakers are doing so much. There's so much stuff that's going on. But right now, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the energy and the momentum that is needed for them to close out this game. And that's why I'm saying the Lakers need to win Game 6 if they want a championship. If not, good luck in Game 7.
Justin, what do you think? 6 or 7, and who wins?
Well, to me, the first thing I'm thinking about is we all kind of were talking last week. This seemed and felt like it was going to be a sweep or at least a dominant performance by the Lakers. And we've talked momentum already, so I won't harp on momentum, but it's real in anything you compete at. It could be a video game. If you start to doubt yourself, if you start to pause for a second, your competitor can take over. And I think we're seeing that with the Heat now. I agree with Tony that it would be a bad loss to the Heat tonight because it would put all the momentum in their court, and it's going to be an underdog story if it goes that way. But I don't think that we're thinking about what we said about the Lakers having the experience and having the ability to dominate the court. They need to show that tonight. I agree, but I'm putting the Lakers in it right now tonight, and so it'll be 2 days removed, but I'll find out on Wednesday.
Okay. Lakers are going to win in 6. They're winning tonight. But let me go over some stats that I think are relative to the scope of this. One of the things I want to say, we've already talked about Jimmy Buckets a lot, but let's just clarify something. LeBron told him you're in trouble first quarter many games ago, 3 games ago, as a matter of fact. Let me give you some stats since he said that to his face. Jimmy Butler is averaging 32.3 points per game. He's averaging 11 rebounds, 11 assists on 59% shooting, 91% from the free throw line, 69% true shooting, 60% as efficiency from the field goal with a plus 33 when he's on the court. That means when Jimmy Butler is on the court, Miami is 33 points ahead of the Lakers in terms of his value. He's had 2 30-point triple-doubles. He's had 2 games with over 35 points, and he's the first 40-10-10 player in the finals in a win. And he's 2-1. Jimmy Butler's played incredible, and clearly if Miami wins, he will be the MVP. And what I want to say about Jimmy Butler is not his stats and things like that. It's his willingness to play 2-ball. He's playing both sides of the court. He is taking that challenge. He's going after Anthony Davis. He's going after all of them. He is playing defense. Now, yes, LeBron's older and he can't do that at this point in his career, but I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Butler because Giannis basically said, why would I guard Jimmy Butler? The coach tells me who to guard. But Jimmy, on the other hand, said, I want to cover Anthony Davis. I want to cover Bron. I want to get in their face. I'm playing both sides of the court. And he did 47 minutes. 47 minutes of that. Intense player. There is nobody like him right now. Like, he is a dog-eat-dog. And I think he deserves all the respect in the world. And while Anthony Davis has carried this series early, he's been the primary reason the Lakers are losing, in my opinion. How can you say he's a top 5 player and he's the best defensive player in the league? Giannis is not. Anthony Davis is. And he made it known in many games showing his defensive prowess, but he should be able to dominate the paint. It's embarrassing that Miami is like averaging 6'8"-ish. Now that's super tall people to us normal human beings, but when you consider Anthony Davis is 6'11", one could argue 7 foot with shoes. He's 7 feet tall. He outweighs everybody by at least 40 pounds. How is he not averaging 30 points a game? If the Lakers win, I would be embarrassed if Anthony Davis gets the MVP because I don't think every game he's proven it. I think he's had defensive performances like I just mentioned to Jimmy, but he hasn't been able to do it on the offensive side like Jimmy has. Now, Bron does not play defense, let's be honest here, but Bron is doing what he can do. He's scoring 40 points. He's doing his LeBron 37-7 average, and he's playing. So it's really up to them. Side note on the narrative, Danny Green missing that wide open 3-pointer. That is true. He missed a wide open 3-pointer, but games are not one-on-one possession, and he was the Lakers' highest plus 14 for the team. So if you're going to blame Danny Green, I really think you need to look at the statistics and what he brought to the game because he was the most efficient player on that team that game. It's facts, Marvin. Marvin's shaking his head all salty.
No, because he's not efficient when it counts. That is the biggest takeaway from Game 5 is that, yes, statistically he was efficient, but when it counts, moments during the game, when you disappear, that in itself, it gives you all the blame. All the blame goes to him towards the end of the game. Yeah, it's not make or break, but
Marvin. Every point count. First quarter matters the same as the fourth quarter. How could it not? Right? Like if I score 37 points in the first 3 quarters, but I score 0 in the fourth, Do you really mean to tell me I'm not having an impact on the game because I didn't score in the fourth quarter? Because that's the narrative against LeBron James in his career. In his career, everyone always says LeBron James dominates, but when it's the fourth quarter, he diminishes. And there are statistics that argue that's not the case when the game is tied or he's down by 2. And people have proven that. But my point being is that's what you hear the narrative with LeBron, is he doesn't have the impact in the fourth quarter, and he doesn't show up, and he hides from the free throw, and he passes to players like Danny Green instead of taking the shot. But my argument is I never challenge that LeBron James isn't the best player because he chooses to pass the ball in the fourth quarter. Just like Danny Green is not at fault for missing a shot in the fourth quarter. That's not my opinion. My opinion is you play 4 quarters, every quarter counts, every possession counts. Every shot Danny Green misses matters. Yes, that could have won him the game. Yes, he was wide open. But LeBron James missed shots too, and nobody's questioning that. If he makes a shot earlier in the game could have been over too. So that's my personal belief. Now, I agree with you. In the fourth quarter, that's where the pressure comes on, and that's where you see who can handle that pressure. And from that perspective, what you're saying matters most, I agree with. But statistics are just as, and analytics have a place in the game too. And to me, one can easily argue that if Green doesn't play the game he's playing outside of that shot, then they're down theoretically by 14 points as is. So I don't agree with that narrative. And just so you know, LeBron James was -2 that game, even though he scored 40 points, because he had 8 turnovers and those turnovers led to points. And that's what I'm getting at, is like, it's so easy to look at it from the perspective of he missed a wide open shot and that literally would have won the game. Well, if LeBron didn't turn the ball over 8 times in the first half, they probably don't lose that game either. And honestly, they wouldn't have been on behind 20 points and things like that. So that's just my perspective, and I agree with you, but I'm just pointing it out to the people who like to blame the last shot guy as the reason the game is over. That's never the reason a game is over. If people, and these are professionals, they are paid to take every moment of the game seriously, and usually turnovers are lapses of judgment and lapses of concentration. And LeBron James, the greatest player on earth, in my opinion, to have 8 turnovers in that game is a huge, and in my opinion, a much bigger reason than Danny Green taking that shot, because it led to 20 points that the Heat got off those 8 turnovers. So you can blame Danny Green, and that's fine, and you can blame LeBron James, and that's fine too. But the bottom line is the Heat won and the Lakers lost, and the Lakers need to do something about it. Vogel, just in, is apparently going to have Alex Caruso play over Dwight Howard. So you're going to see Anthony Davis at the center, and you'll be seeing the bald boy, Alex Caruso, coming in hot. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this is a adjustment that works. I appreciate he's making one. Doc Rivers failed to make an adjustment, and I feel like that's why the Clippers lost. But that's why I'm confident that this is the game the Lakers pull away, because I feel like Anthony Davis has been playing subpar games this finals, and I think this is his breakout game. I think this is his 30-point game with his defensive capability. LeBron James has been playing great. And while Jimmy Butler, I think, will still play at this level, and I think the Heat have a better long-term future than the Lakers, I think this is the Lake Show, and I think this is in 6. But if anyone would like to talk about the NBA, please feel free.
Did we nail down our MVP picks then for the finals?
Ooh, Justin, no, I don't believe we did. I'll start off with mine. Let's go around the horn. To me, I gotta go with consistency. I think the Lakers are going to win. I think even if Anthony Davis has this breakout game that I expect LeBron James to get this MVP. I think it'll be controversial. I do think Anthony Davis has done a lot to prove that he is easily an MVP, and honestly, had some great defensive plays. I just think his inconsistency this series hasn't been what it's needed to be. And for somebody to play in and out of their spectrum doesn't merit, like, for instance, I think he will have the best game tonight. But I think LeBron James has historically and categorically shown he has carried the Lakers this entire series. LeBron James.
Tony, what do you think?
I agree. I believe that if the Lakers win tonight, that LeBron James will be the MVP. And no doubtly, he's carried every team he's ever played on. That's just who he is, and that's what he gets done. However, if the Heat win, we obviously know that it's going to be Jimmy Buckets. Okay, because Jimmy Buckets could be the MVP if they even lose, to me, because he's just playing at a totally different level. Anthony Davis has been very up and down. I know he's been hurt, but I would have loved to seen him get that MVP because he's done some great things, but he's also done some not great things. LeBron James had eight turnovers, and still had 40 points. But LeBron James doesn't do turnovers every single game to that magnitude. Okay, so you have to weigh it out. It's a scale. You got to weigh it out. Everything's not always going to be positive. Everything's not always going to be negative. You got to weigh it out. It's got to come in between, in the middle. So for me, it's easy. LeBron James, Lakers win. Jimmy Buckets if the Heat win. It's that simple.
Marv, who do you think?
My pick to win the series?
And MVP.
My pick to win the series is going to be the Lakers. Simply because of LeBron James. What a performance he's put on the last 5 games, along with, Anthony Davis. We could sit here and point out how, the inconsistencies that he had in game 5, and I believe it was game 3. But when you look at the course of the playoffs and you look at, game 1 and 2, and you look at game 4, even when he hit that big shot, I think Anthony Davis is still in that MVP conversation. And I think, like you said, Richie, if he puts up 33, 10, and 3 blocks tonight, then I would say he's catapulted himself back into that finals MVP conversation. But when you look at what LeBron James has done, he single-handedly kept his team in the ball game in that game 5, even though having those 8 turnovers, which, like you said, you can't overlook stats, and that's a very important number on the stat sheet is turnovers. If you don't turn up, that's 8 possessions you give the other team. So when you give 8, you turn the ball over 8 times, that's 8. You create opportunities for them to score. So if the Lakers can limit those turnovers and limit their mistakes and limit defensive breakdowns, then they'll have no problem doing what they did in game 1, game 2, and game 4. And they'll walk away as NBA champions. But I think that in terms of who's going to be finals MVP when they win tonight, I think it's going to be LeBron James.
So I'm just gonna say, because my prediction for the win overall was the Lakers. Absolutely LeBron, if that's so. But who does the MVP belong to? I'm gonna go with your boy Jimmy Butler, just based on Game 3. You all have me outranked on basketball and had me assured that this was going to be a sweep until that kid had his performance. 40 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. As Rudy Gobert said it, of Utah Jazz, said it on Twitter. They really tried to trick us into thinking that Jimmy wasn't a guy that you want on your team if you want to win. If the Heat pull this out, it's because of that kid, and he earned the MVP, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. We saw in 2015 LeBron James had arguably, I think, the greatest finals performance I've ever seen. He led both teams in all 5 statistical categories and did not win MVP because they had lost. So I think Jimmy is in the same boat, even, in that sense. But I don't think it's comparable. Jimmy, I agree with. I think we're all on the same page. Jimmy's playing the best basketball of this NBA Finals. I don't think it's even up for debate on that. And I will say I'm a little disappointed with Goran Dragic out this entire time. The Heat, let's remember this, the Heat's leading scorer, that they've made it a series, and the Lakers have, in my opinion, let them make it a series. I think this Heat are very talented, but again, let's talk about the narrative. The beginning of this finals, everyone was saying this is the biggest mismatch in NBA history, even more than the 76ers and the Lakers when Allen Iverson was playing. And so to see them lose their best scorer, so to speak, and them to be the dogs that they are and to fight and keep pushing for it, Vogel's got to change something. The Lakers got to clamp this down. And I really want to see, and I'm curious next year, regardless of the outcome of this, is what are they going to do to try to be successful next year, if they are successful or not this year? Because at the end of the day, you can see the writing is on the wall that if they have this team and they're playing like this, I just don't see them making it out of the West again. I really don't. I think Denver was the perfect kryptonite to the Clippers this year. And I think the Clippers would have given the Lakers a much more challenging time than the Goran Dragic-less Miami Heat. With Dragic, I think they would have lost. I really think this would have been a Miami Heat, Dallas Mavericks type situation where the favorite would have gotten demolished. I really think the Heat would have won. If Goran never got hurt, I just don't see how the Lakers win with how Jimmy's playing. And again, Goran was balling. He was averaging 24 points per game. So you add that on top of what they're capable of. Now, yes, you don't add 24 points. You average about maybe 16 and a half. But I just don't see how the Lakers keep up. So I'm looking forward to next year, guys. I think it's been a great finals. I think this discussion was really fun. And I'm sure next week we'll start getting into looking at the next season. But on that note, let's get into football because the boys are ready. I know we got some statistics going on. And Justin's got that smirk on his face. So Justin, tell us, what are we talking about?
Oh, I mean, I know we're talking about the NFL. I was just ready to talk football. It's been an exciting week in football altogether, and I'm excited for it. And I think, Tony, you've got the standings for us again this week?
I do have the standings. So I'll just go through it really quick. You got the Bills, the AFC East at 4-0. The Patriots are at 2-2. The Dolphins are at 1-3. The Jets are at 0-4. With the AFC West, you have the Chiefs at 4-0, but that changes today. You have the Raiders at 2-2. You have the Broncos at 1-3. You have the Chargers at 1-3. AFC North, you have the Steelers at 3-0, the Ravens at 3-1, the Browns at 3-1, the Bengals at 1-2-1. The AFC South, you have the Titans at 3-0, the Colts at 3-1, the Jags at 1-3, and the Texans at 0-4. Now, if we go on to the NFC side, you got the Eagles leading the division in the NFC East at 1-2-1. Washington 1-3. The boys are at 1-3. The Giants are at 0-4. NFC West, you have the Seahawks at 4-0. The Rams at 3-1. The Cardinals at 2-2. The 49ers at 2-2. NFC North, you have the Packers at 4-0. The Bears at 4-1. The Vikings at 1-3. The Lions at 1-3. And you have the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3-2, the Saints at 2-2, the Panthers at 2-2, and the Falcons at 0-4. But we also have games that are happening on Sunday night, and Monday night. So those standings are from last week. They're not updated yet. So with the games that are happening today, got some interesting things going on where those Chiefs have fallen to the Raiders. And it was a magnificent score. The Raiders, 40. The Chiefs, 24. You had the Panthers, 23-16 for the Falcons. You had the Ravens whoop up on the Bengals. JB, it's okay. You'll get another one. I believe in you. Ravens, 27. The Bengals, 3. The Texans took care of the Jaguars at 30-14. You have the Cardinals beat the Jets 30-10. The Steelers took care of the Eagles 38-29. The Rams took care of Washington 30-10. You have the Dolphins. The Dolphins 43, the 49ers 17. You got the Giants and Cowboys playing right now. The Cowboys are, well, not right now, but as I'm doing the score, the Cowboys are at 31. The Giants are at 26. And you got the Browns that took care of the Colts. So the only other game I didn't mention was the Buccaneers and the Bears, which happened on Thursday. So that was a week from when you're listening to this show. And that was the most interesting game that I ever watched in my life because I saw Tom Brady think that it was third down and it was really fourth down. It was just a debacle. I never seen anything like it.
Midlife crisis. He's getting old.
But with those standings, anything stand out to you all about the games that happened on Sunday? Anything stick out that you want to talk about? Maybe from that Thursday night game, maybe some matchups that are going to be happening this upcoming Sunday that you might be interested in. I'm leaving the floor completely wide open for anybody to have anything to say.
Quickly, I just wanted to say there were two moments where my eyes kind of opened drastically. One being the Las Vegas Raiders beating Kansas City, scoring 40 points on them. Kudos to the Raiders, man. You know, you're talking about the defending champions. We're talking about a balling out quarterback, and they pulled out the win. The other one that shocked me, as you're reading a lot of those stats, was Miami Dolphins putting up 40. They drummed the 49ers. I did not see that one coming. So that's definitely my surprise win of the week, is the Dolphins crushing the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, some of these other ones, like, to be expected. Like, I'd be shocked if Pittsburgh loses to the division leading Philadelphia Eagles at 1-2-1. You know, come on, man. All NFC East, like, that's a free win. Like, even the lowly Bengals got a tie with them. Like, come on, dude. Like, Pittsburgh should and did crush. Baltimore, same thing. Played the lowly Bengals, should and did crush. Arizona beating up on the Jets. We expect those types of things. I think a lot of these games went the way they did. And I expected, except for Miami, and particularly except for the Raiders. Those are big woes for me. I did not see those coming. So good job on the coaching staff and the players to make those wins happen. That was crazy.
So this just in, we tape on Sundays, right, guys? And this airs on Wednesday. But I want you to get a live reaction of the people on the podcast, the people that are watching. I'm getting ready to say something, and I want you to see this. So as of right now, the New York Giants have taken the lead over the Cowboys, and it's 34-31. I just want to see your reactions, guys. The Giants are beating the Cowboys. The Cowboys, who have all this talent. The Cowboys that have this new coach that's supposed to take them to the next level. The Cowboys that they're about to pay Dak some real serious money, but he ain't playing like he deserves real serious money. I just want to see what the reactions are.
My understanding, Marvin mentioned to me, Dak went out just recently, so I could see them taking a lead as far as that goes.
Oh,
with a this Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'd expect that.
No, but Tony, you're right, and you're not wrong. I wanted to throw in a fun fact in there because you weren't done. The Giants coming into this game averaged 12 points. I want everyone to know that. The Giants averaged 12 points a game before playing the Cowboys. So if that lets you know anything about the Dallas Cowboys' defense, if weeks 1, 2, and 3, and 4 weren't enough, you have enough evidence today. And I guarantee all of you that are listening to this show, if they do not win or get it together this week or next week, someone will be fired.
Bold prediction. I like it.
You know, and I'm just to go back off of your statistics, Tony. I think this is just Dallas. I don't know how else to say it. America's team, whatever you want to call it. They are the paperweight champions of the world. They always have. When you look at it statistical, like kind of to Marvin's point, statistics, they always have these great guys that statistically do well. Dak Prescott throws 70 fucking times a game, pardon the language. So he throws 5,000 yards every single year. You have, a very super underperforming running back, and I won't even say his name because I've been very disappointed in him after his little Cabo spiel. He hasn't been performing. But the bottom line is they always have these top 5 type players across the board, and they're always bottom 8 team every single year. And to me, it's systemic in the organization, not just in the coaching, right? When you're a coach who has no autonomy and the players can go behind your back and talk to the owner, and the owner tells the coach, let up on that guy or don't do that, you have no power. So how can you control a locker room when you're not the real leader? I mean, it's very challenging. And I don't blame or expect the coach to be able to do much as long as Jerry is still running Jerry's world. It's very disappointing to see, though, because they have the talent. They have the talent that I expect them. They should be a 10-6 team every year, not a 8-8 team and a 7-9 team that they always end up being. When you have juggernauts on wide receiver, running back, and quarterback, regardless of your defense, but to Marvin's point, they have a terrible defense, and you can't win games. It's a little surprising. And when you can't win games, when you pay defensive linemen top 5 money in the game and offensive linemen top 5 money in the game. If I were Jerry Jones, I don't even know what I would say at this point. That man has more patience than I do, because if I'm paying 6-7 people top 5 money and I'm always over the salary cap and I'm always paying luxury tax and I'm never in the playoffs, I feel like at some point he's got to do something. Food for thought.
Playoffs?
Yeah, you paid for franchise players, not a Swiss cheese defense. And then I think it was the safety for the Cowboys that said this previous week, he said, you don't expect us to go out and play hard for 70 plays a game, right? Yes. People, fans at home, people that are people that watch football, yeah, you're expected to. Like Richie just said, you're getting paid millions of dollars for you to say, you don't expect us to go out there and play hard. It's just like you don't expect us to come on this podcast and only talk to you for like 5-10 minutes and we're done. No, we're going to give you our full effort. So they've got a lot to do in terms of culture and identity for the Cowboys. I don't know what it is every year. Richie, like you said, they're the paperweight champions. They're supposed to be America's team, but you just don't see that every year. I mean, where does Jerry Jones get off? You know, you got a high-powered offense. It's like he forgot the defense too in the offseason. So they got a lot of work to do. And in this division, I feel like if we had a team there together, just the 4 of us, we'd beat anyone in that division. That division is historically bad after this year.
We might not beat them, but at least our records
we'll be close.
Yeah, at least our records will be the same because they're not really going anywhere.
They're going where we are.
The Cowboys still have a chance to take this division. That's how poorly this division is, if you think about it.
Hell, the Giants still have a chance to take this division.
That's a better point, Richie. I love it. The Giants have a better chance of taking this division. Listen, you're watching The Wire. We're going to have more sports coming right at you, but we're going to shoot you this real quick commercial. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of the mundane one subject, one point of view podcast? Have you been searching for a show that combines comedy, games, current events, and hot new up-and-coming artists? Well, look no further. The H2G Podcast has everything you need to start your week out right. So what are you waiting for? Stream previous seasons now at H2GPodcast.com. The H2G Podcast, Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Available at all social media platforms near you.
All right, welcome back to The Wire. We are talking NFL. We covered the NBA Finals, and we are into talking about the NFL. We would be remiss in mentioning, I think, guys, the impact that COVID-19 is having on this season, and not that we didn't see it coming. I think everybody kind of saw that this was going to be one of those out of the box. Nobody really had a plan. It seemed like all the way up to the start of the season. Now, guys, there's NFL players going on Twitter saying that they don't even care about our well-being. It's about, can we look clean and safe enough given the now 23 as of Sunday, 23 positive COVID tests amongst the NFL. College has seen it in a big way too. Virginia Tech's missing 15 players this week due to positive COVID tests. So you've got coaches in both NCAA and in the NFL, not even sure what team they're going to be playing, when they're going to be playing, trying to keep the normal nature of the football season flowing with all of these absences and misses and, COVID cases popping up. What are you guys thinking?
I think it's embarrassing. I think football has no business being played. And as somebody who loves football, and, I'm glad we're having this podcast and being able to talk about it, it's an embarrassment. Like, for instance, we're talking about Virginia Tech, and I believe you said it was 14 players. Why are they
15?
15, excuse me. Why are they even playing? You mean to tell me these 15 players didn't come in contact with the other players and the coaching staff? So how are they still able to play a game? Doesn't make sense. Same thing with football. I'll just try to be really quick about this and let the guys have their opinions as well. You're talking 9 games got reshuffled this week due to the Patriots, Tennessee Titans, etc. And how are they not getting forfeits at this point? Why are you rescheduling? It doesn't make sense to reschedule. You have a team playing and prepared all week to play their opponent. And because a couple guys or the team is inefficient in handling their business, now they get another bye week, but then they're going to have to play a doubleheader at some point. Close. Football is not baseball. You cannot play games back to back like that and expect people to stay healthy. And it's absurd that they're catering to these teams and players who are fostering bad behavior. You know, like the NBA did it right. They chose to find a location and force these players to play in that location. Now, obviously, it was opt-in or out, and not all NBA players chose to do it. They should have done the same thing for football. The logistics of it are more challenging in the sense of, yes, you have to stay in, you go into a plane and a private plane, and you have to have a private hotel when you go to the city. But the point is they could have and should be having much harder restrictions. And it's clear as day these players don't care, not like the NBA players were caring. And it's clear as day that the NFL is not punishing the teams. And so if I were a football player right now, why should I care? Think about it this way, like, oh no, man, Patrick Mahomes is on a roll. Like, dude, go rub your face on the chalkboard over there and get sick. Like, so we don't have to play him until later when we're ready for him, you know? Like, that's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. These teams are getting delays and not forfeits. Because these all it does is it puts the Steelers were a victim of this. The Buffalo Bills have been a victim of this. The Denver Broncos, etc. The list goes on and on. There are teams that are going to that are losing their bye weeks, or for instance, the New England Patriots now, and good on it. They deserve it because they have shut down their shop and they have to. Although allegedly, and we won't know, folks, this is being pre-recorded, but Tuesday they're still supposed to play, even though a staff member was contracted COVID and they shut the facility down today. Not sure how that's going to handle. One would hope they're going to delay the game or cancel it. Nonetheless, it doesn't make sense to me. You know, like the Patriots are now going to have to play 12 straight games of football because they had to use their bye early, so to speak. That all you're doing is setting up players to get injured by delaying these games and not doing forfeits. In my opinion, if you can't keep your team healthy and you're not enforcing stringent enough rules for your players to behave so that they don't get sick, you deserve a forfeit. You do not deserve the money. The reason why they're doing this is NFL money. It has nothing to do with the player's safety or anything like that, because clearly they don't care about these guys getting injured. They just want the games to be advertised so they can make their money. Like, I guarantee you the players, if you were to tell them, would you rather lose a paycheck or potentially get injured? They're going to say, take the paycheck, man. I don't want to get hurt. But the NFL doesn't care about its players. It's very obvious compared to what you see with the NBA and Major League Baseball and what the NFL is doing. MLB's been just fine.
Yeah, I mean, Richie took care of all the notes. I really don't have anything else to bring to the table, so I'm not going to waste that much time. But I will say this. I'm going to give you a little nugget on what you just said, Richie. This is how an NFL player thinks. If an NFL player cares more about his body than a paycheck coming in, and you think that they don't, here's an example. Le'Veon Bell turned down $14 million to keep his body in shape so that way the Steelers didn't play him and have him carry the ball 300 times, which was going to do damage on his body, and then he was going to go try to make money at a different team. He said, nah, I'll keep my body the way it is, and I'll get that paycheck later. They need to take COVID serious. They're not taking it serious enough. If they do double headers, you're just putting people's body into jeopardy. And then you're going to have a whole nother plethora of problems down the road because it's not going to work out the way that you think it's going to work out.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad idea over the summer. I knew that the NFL, Roger Goodell, they wouldn't follow Adam Silver's example of establishing some kind of protective bubble. And it almost seems as if it's impossible, but not entirely. I mean, we're talking about the NFL. We're talking about a group of men that can sit in one room and come up with innovative ways to protect players. I guess I can't give them that much credit. They did come up with the Washington football team instead of any other name. But, I knew from the beginning that this was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. They didn't have anything set in place where you're going to protect the players. And like Richie said, now you're postponing and canceling. Only thing that matters is to the NFL. To me, it seems as if it's the bottom line. Meet the bottom line so we can keep making money and keep people happy, because ultimately the NFL, regardless of this COVID, all they've told us is that regardless if you get sick, we still own Sunday. It's still ours, and we're still going to make our money regardless. But it's starting to show its ugly head. What if stars start to go down? That's what I've started to think about next. What if your biggest money makers, like a Pat Mahomes, gets COVID-19 and his wife is pregnant? What do you do then? These are questions that are continuously being unanswered by the NFL. I think it's negligent, and I think that they really, really need to find a way towards, if it gets bad at the end of this week, they need to do something. Either you put the season on hold or you cancel it, because you can't keep risking these guys. These players have families. These coaches have families. These assistants have families. The people that work at these stadiums have families. They have someone to go back to. So it's just a matter of getting people in the right room to come up with something. That's all. Protect the players. This is getting ridiculous.
I'll agree with you all in saying that football shouldn't be played. I said that before the season started. But there's a part of me that's sitting here thinking there's millions of dollars being thrown around right now. There's a lot of money on the line, a lot of people that sign contracts saying we will play football. And that included guidelines for COVID-19 and how to adhere to them and do your job. We're putting a lot of weight on the NFL right now. Maybe they're not making the best decisions, but they're dealing with a global pandemic and literally probably billions of dollars just hanging in the balance. These players need to take better care of themselves and be smarter. Stop going. If you're going to have this contract for all of this money and you want to play football and you decided not to stay home and stay safe, then you need to stay safe while you're at work and keep the players and other coaches and staff members safe around you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, like you said, it's a business. And at the end of the day, business has to have some sort of semblance. And I've already stated my piece. I believe the organization should have went the bubble route in some capacity. I think that's the easier way to approach this. So all I can say is I'm hoping. Oh, Mark?
I mean, Richie, you've just got so many indoor arenas across the U.S. and they just didn't take time to come up with a way to protect the players. They just chose not to do it. It's not that they couldn't do it. They just chose not to. It's just a matter of effort. I'm gonna go back to it. Coming up with the Washington football team, y'all. I mean, come on. We could have sat. We have sat here for an hour or so trying to come up for a name for this show. And we came up with a great name. You mean to tell me that a room full of grown men and women, might I add, in that room couldn't come up with anything? That's how I felt about COVID and protecting the players. You had so much resources available to them, Richie. I'm sorry. It's really sensitive matter because it's bullshit. They literally just did not care. They literally did not care. So if you've got a son that's getting ready to go to college, play college football, Justin, like you say in Virginia Tech. We can just get to that for a second. Collegiate athletes worry me the most because these are kids, and the NCAA already is notorious for not giving a damn about its players and using their image and likeness on anything. And these players don't get any kind of compensation, and these players are struggling to eat at night on top of having to worry about getting COVID. I don't know what direction sports is heading in sometimes. I really don't, especially with now and all this uncertainty. I'm sorry, y'all, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, and you don't have to be sorry. It's upsetting. And you can see it on your face. And it's not just you that's upset. I mean, they just needed to take some more time, think some things out, and they did. Because guess what? And this is the society that we live in. Everyone wants to go back to normalcy. They want it to be normal, right? But we just can't jump right into it. We have to make sure that there are things that are placed and planned so that way people are safe and there's some security set up so that way we don't all just end up getting sick. It's very, very smart on if you take your time, you plan it out, and then you follow through. That's what it is. See, people don't fail. That people don't plan to fail, right? They don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. So this is a good case for the NFL. The NFL was trying to rush all the way in, put all their chips in, and they said, let's just do this. But they weren't smart about it. And now they're seeing the repercussions of it. We didn't have that a lot with the NBA. We might have had somebody sneak out of the bubble and try to sneak somebody in the bubble, right? But then you didn't hear about that person no more. The NFL definitely should have taken some more time with thinking this all out. So I understand your frustration, Marvin. You're 100% accurate in what you're saying and how you feel. And I think we all agree with it. They just needed to take a little bit more time because guess what? It's all going to fall apart. And when they start stacking games on top of games, I'm going to laugh. I want to watch football. I love football. You know, I want to watch it. I do. But I also don't want other people to get sick just so that way I can watch it. That's greedy and inconsiderate. And that's not who I am as a person. So don't think that everybody out there is thinking like that. But I guarantee there's a lot more people out there that I think just like me, just like you, Marvin and Richie and Justo, that they would rather have somebody be safe than to try to entertain us.
Only 10,000 people at a game? How? That doesn't make any damn sense. It doesn't make no sense. Every week I'm seeing teams, Tony, come out and their GM or the team president saying we're going to admit 10,000 people are a game, 5,000 more people. Why? Why? In hot spots. Why?
Cha-ching. You know
Cha-ching for that money.
Cha-ching.
Controversial that they are playing, but they are playing. So before we wrap up today, we got to talk about a few people who are shining stars right now. Why don't we go around the horn? Let's talk about our quarterly player of the quarter, which is an awkward way to say that. Let's go for your MVP offense and defensive picks before we head out of here.
The quarterly.
Go ahead.
No, you good.
You go ahead.
All right. Quarterly player of the quarter. My quarterly player of the quarter on offense would have to be, and I'm sticking to it for now, but Russell Wilson with Josh Allen is a very, very, very close second. These guys are neck and neck. And I really want to give a shout out to Josh Allen. I feel like we've been eluding the Bills a lot, at least from last week. Remarkable play from both of these guys. And I just think Russell Wilson's just on another level right now. I mean, his quarterback rating is 136.7. And Josh Allen's is at 122, I think. 122.7. So both of these guys ball in. Josh Allen has one less interception, but 4 less touchdowns. So, you know, that's a matter of perspective. What do you think is more valuable, less turnovers, et cetera, and the dynamics of the game? It's too hard to analyze from that perspective. But to me, clearly, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen balling. My homeboy is always in the running. We don't need to discuss that. But to me, these are the two highest players. They both happen to be quarterbacks right now, but they are playing at levels I'm not used to seeing, to be honest. I haven't seen somebody be able to play at like Russell's level and Josh Allen's level in a long time. And my defensive quarterly player of the quarter would actually have to be a conversation we had a little bit ago. And this is not really biased, but this is a perspective of what I consider a defensive anchor that doesn't get the type of talk they get, and it's the lineman. I think the lineman, like Aaron Donald, is the best defensive player in football, period. But I think right now I'd have to say Myles Garrett is the best defensive player quarterly so far. He's got, I think, 4 or 5 sacks. He's tied for first right now, but he's also got 3 forced fumbles, and he recovered 2 of those. So that's exactly like when you talk about a defensive player, you talk about somebody who can either cause disruption and multiple blocks so his other teammate can succeed, or you're talking about a guy who's going to slap the quarterback or hit that running back and force a fumble. And that's what this man is doing right now, is he's forcing fumbles and getting sacks. I mean, he's averaging like a 1.5 or 1.7 sacks per game, and he's averaging half a fumble per game right now with a recovery rate of 66%. Now, obviously that won't continue, but nonetheless, to me, defensive linemen too often get forgotten because you look at linebackers and they have those sexy 150 tackles and passes deflected. But the guys in the trenches allow those other players the opportunities. And let's not forget, Aaron Donald is only 1.5 sacks behind Myles Garrett. So it's not like Aaron's out of the picture. But to me, Myles right now through 4 games is balling like a machine. So I would say Myles Garrett, you have my quarterly defensive player of the quarter.
I can get to mine real quick. As far as defense goes, Myles Garrett, I think I would have to agree with you. He's earning his whopper of a contract, 125 mil over there. But I'm going to mention DeForest Buckner. I knew this was going to come with the Indianapolis Colts. He was acquired from the 49ers, and he's brought this defense to a whole new level. With Buckner on board, Indy has allowed just 945 yards as of today before their game. The lowest total allowed by any team through a season's first 4 weeks since the 2010 Ravens, which was at 943. So I think Buckner is a sleeper. And don't fall asleep on my boy TJ Watt, who's playing like a monster. He's got 3.5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, 9 tackles. He's playing as good a football as I've seen from TJ. So don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him. But I'm going to go with DeForest this week.
What about your offense?
Oh, offense, man. I want to say after today's game, I want to say Chase Claypool, but I can't honestly say it just after one game. But holy crap, this kid exploded with 7 receptions, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns. The kid was at Ben's beck and call today. Tony, I gotta resend some of what I said last week. They're making me nervous. They're not playing perfect football. Not that we expect that, but I would have liked, like Richie had mentioned earlier, a much bigger lead over the Eagles. But you can't put any of that weight on this young man, Claypool. But honestly, right now, my offensive core, it's got to go to Aaron Rodgers. I can't believe he's hanging in there. He is, just unstoppable as he's always been. So far, we got 1,214 yards and 13 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is just incredible. Aaron Rodgers right now is my offensive pick for quarterly player of the quarter. No interceptions. No.
All right, so I think it's on me. Okay, so I think my offensive quarterly player of the month would have to be of the year, the month,
of the quarter,
of the quarter. Sorry, would have to be Josh Allen, and Josh Allen, because even though they acquired Stefan Diggs, you have to see what Josh Allen's doing. Josh Allen has changed the offensive culture of that team. For years, they've been so stagnant offensively, and until he's come in, he has utilized almost every weapon he's had, from Greg Davis to Kevin Knox, Stefan Diggs to Gabriel Davis to Cole Beasley, John Brown. He is utilizing every weapon around him. And not only that, but he's been able to show massive upside with his rushing ability. And I think that because of that, he's catapulted himself to that conversation right there with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson will obviously see what he does going forward, but he's going to have some tougher games. So I don't see Russell Wilson keeping up that same level of production where he's throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. But Josh Allen, I think, is sustainable because the defense is a lot better than Seattle's. And I think that in itself will create even more opportunities for Josh Allen. And Josh Allen will, in my opinion, towards the end of the year, take even just a bigger step over Russell Wilson. I think defensively, my defensive guy is Khalil Mack. Now, after what I saw this past week, Khalil Mack is right there with Aaron Donald. I don't know why he didn't get a 99 on Madden. That's just right. Because this guy,
future Hall of Famer Khalil Mack,
future Hall of Famer. Ask the Oakland Raiders. Ask John Gruden. This man gave up their entire team. They gave up the farm to give away Khalil Mack. And you see what he's still doing. He is a pest. He still gets to the quarterback. I mean, he knocked Tom Brady on the ground so many times. No wonder he forgot what down it was in the fourth quarter because he got hit so many times by Khalil Mack that game that he didn't know what was going on. But I think that the Bears, if Nick Foles can sustain the offense, the Bears are going to keep the Bears are going to stay in playoff contention. And I think Khalil Mack is as good a leader. They'll go as far as he takes them on defense.
All right, so I agree with all of you 100%. Very good picks for offense and for defense. But I'm going to be the asshole here, okay? I'm going to be the asshole. So for me, I only have one award, okay? And it's the I Can't Believe That You're Playing award. And that award goes to all of the players for every single team for having the guts to get up every single day, practice, put your body through what you put your body through, then to go out and play on a Thursday, a Sunday, or a Monday for an NFL league that doesn't have your best interest at heart, so that way you can earn some money. But in that, you might actually get hurt and you might actually get sick. So thank you to all the NFL players, all the NFL coaches, all the NFL organizations and staff members for going through this rough time that everybody is going through and trying to make it happen. But the NFL does not have everyone's best interest at heart. They only have one thing in interest, and that's money. And everybody has interest in money, but not when it comes to the health of someone else. I told you, I was going to be the asshole. I apologize in advance, but that's just how I feel. I can't pick somebody as an early MVP, even though I could, because there's some ballers, but there's a bigger issue, and that's what affects me. And so I'm sorry for being the asshole, but I do want to thank you for watching The Wire. We got many more shows to come, hopefully not on this magnitude of my mindset, but we have so many more coming your way. Thank you for watching The Wire.